Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to today's Makeshift Happen with me, Tammy Lee, of the Emerald Compass and the Emerald Compass Sacred Sisterhood. How is everyone doing today? Come on in and join us. Allow all things and all distractions that have visited you earlier today and from days past, allow them to sink away. Be here, right now with me. And just take a deep breath. Center into your heart, into that heart space. So allow your whole being to just relax. Allow that deep breath. You want to breathe in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Slow, 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 slow. Did you know that breathing, that when we do it like this, it also helps us to not just to relax, but helps our heart to relax, helps us to get into this soft space. Yeah, into your softness within you. For those of you that are new to me, because this is being streamed also on YouTube and the Emerald Compass business page, Facebook page, I'm Tammy Lee. I'm an accelerated intuitive and way shower, guiding others to their sovereign sacred self, opening all of us up to that inner landscape that awaits us to nourish and nurture and plant the seeds or pull the weeds. Yeah. And when we do that kind of work, when we do our inner healing work, we literally pull the weeds and plant the seeds within. I had an experience earlier today where I was working with a couple of other individuals, and as we were working together, I could feel the masculine within me. Yeah, that masculine within me. I could feel that masculine pulling out these weights, these heavy, heavy weights. These heavy weights that have been stuck in my lower back and in my hip cage for eternity. And I could feel him as I did. I could feel the masculine, the sacred masculine, assisting me in this lower back pain that I've been experiencing the last few weeks. That is something new as my body is catching up to all the accelerated work, inner work that I've been doing. And usually it's we take care of our emotional body and then our mental body and our spiritual body. And usually it's our physical body that is the last thing to catch up. And sometimes that comes with some creaks, some pain, some stiffness, some out of jointness. That's why sacred self-care is so, so important. Chiropractic, massage, stretching, walking, whatever that is for you, sitting in a sauna, whatever that is for you. So welcome, everybody. Welcome. Today, we're going on an adventure. Today we're going on an adventure. As we travel, we're going on an adventure. As I share my stories of, and it was really interesting that I wasn't sure. I was asking, what is it I bring forth today? What is it I bring forth today? And I wanted to share one of the first times I met a multidimensional from another world, I guess you would say. Today, we're going to go on an adventure. Come along with me as we travel along the rivers, along the stream to Egypt. In February of 2017, I had met this woman 6 months beforehand, and she was really quiet person. And we were at a retreat together, and she didn't reveal so much of herself very, very easily. And that's what I've come to find out, because there's certain things I don't share about myself real easily either. And some of that is this connection with these other realms, because it's still so new to people. It's still so new, like me working with Sasquatch or the Marys, that it's new in the aspect, in the respect of other people may not understand that. And some people even ask, Tammy, how did you get there? How did you start working with other beings like that? So as I was sharing the story of when I met Goddess Hathor in Egypt. Oh, that reminds me. Hang on just a second. I got to get something. I got to get something that I took with me to Egypt. And this was astounding that I even knew to take this certain piece I had to Egypt. So just allow all this, because as I share the story, Goddess Hathor, the Hathors. Now, I did not know anything about her before I went to Egypt. Yeah. And when I was in Egypt, I got a coffee reading. Oh, what's it called? I think it's called a coffee reading, a Tibetan coffee reading, where you get this little cup, like tiny, like take this cup and divide it in half and both height and width. Okay. And it's a strong coffee. You drink the liquid out of it, and the rest of the cup, like it's half grounds and half liquid. Okay. You drink out the liquid, you drink the coffee, and you leave the grounds, and you take the grounds and it always comes with a plate. You put the plate on top of the cup and you turn it over and allow all the grounds to come down. And then you move the cup a little bit, and then the reader takes the cup off. Like I think she was the one that moved it. Maybe I moved it a little bit. And then I hand it to her, and she took the cup off. And so this group I was with in Egypt, they're all standing around wondering, what's Tammy's reading going to be about? And as soon as she took it off, this lady that was reading, she took it off, and everybody went, Hathor! I'm like, huh? What? And they're like, oh my gosh, that's an image of Hathor. I'm like, who's Hathor? It's okay to not know these things, all right? It's okay not to know Hi, Diana. I don't know that I've ever told you this story. This is such a story of delight and connection. Delight and connection. Well, Goddess Hathor is very well known in Egypt. And see, here's another thing that maybe this is also why for years I haven't shared this story, because before I went to Egypt, I had two people I highly respected at that time. One says, well, be careful over there. Like I was going to get, because of their religion, because whatever they believe in. Don't let being over there convince you of something else. So this was a woman that's very highly, was very highly deep into the Catholicism. And then I had another person, a man, he's like, well, I don't know why any Christian would want to go to Egypt. So, when you have those mindsets of people speaking that, and they're people of high regard to you, if you allow yourself, you start to question it. You start to question yourself, right? And you start to question your decisions. But then there's this knowing within you. There was a knowing within me, even though the facilitator, Trista, I'd only known 6 months. And when we were at this retreat, when I first met her in June of 2016, and she's finally, because I wouldn't give up, she's my roommate and I'm asking questions and I'm just pulling this stuff out of her, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm inviting these things. That's a better way of saying it, right? I am inviting these different pieces to come out of her. And I'd ask her a question, and we're laying down, we're going to sleep, or so she thought. And I'm laying there and I ask a question. And I'm like, oh, okay. She'd answer, and then I'm like, oh, and Trista. And I'd ask another question. I'm like, oh, okay. I think that happened like 3 to 5 times. And finally, I thought, oh, I don't want to make her upset with me. I better just be quiet and go to sleep. But I am very, 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 very inquisitive. Always have been. Maybe that's the Gemini in me. And so anyway, she was saying how she was going to take some people to France. And I'm like, well, I want to go there, but I know I'm supposed to go to Egypt first. So if you ever happen to go to Egypt first, let me know. 6 weeks later, after this retreat, now mind you, this is the first time we met each other. 6 weeks later, and let me tell you, I love this woman. I love her. And 6 weeks later, she calls me. She contacts me. She's like, I don't know what you did, Tammy, but I know now I'm supposed to go to Egypt first before France. And I giggled and I said, I'm there. I don't know. I still didn't know her, right? I still this is 6 weeks later. But when you know in your soul, in your spirit, in that essence of who you are, and you feel that pull, and when it does not make sense, see, we're out of the mind. Our ego is like, but our soul knows that's a calling. Our spirit just brightens up at the thought, right? Brightens up at the thought. So when we say yes to that soul calling, even if it doesn't make sense, right? Especially when it doesn't make sense. When we say yes to that, magic happens. Healing happens. Acceleration of our gifts happen. an unwinding happens. New connections happen. And I said yes right there and then to Trista. I'm like, but I do want to travel with you. I need to travel with you because I've never been out of a country like that. Never been to anything outside of Canada. So, oh, wait, I guess I was to Germany. However, my husband was with me. So this was a Tammy only thing, right? So we're off to Egypt. 6 months later, February 2017. And have you ever had this done? Have you ever had this happen that when you hear comments like that, you know, oh, I don't know why a Christian woman would want to go to Egypt. And have you ever felt like, okay, well, now I know not to ever discuss certain things with that person or that person or that person. You understand what I'm saying here? So yes, it can be a little intimidating when you speak your truth, when you share who you are. However, with those that are, because they love us out of concern, say things. But when we just like, and don't let that affect us, and we keep being who we are and who we're meant to be, we literally give permission for others to rise up in their gifts. Literally, rise up, rise up, rise up. When we be who we are, when we be who we are, when we be in our truth, when we be truth in every step, as much as possible in our life, we literally give permission for others to rise up in their truth. Yes, yes, yes. Isn't that beautiful? See, each and every one of us that have ever thought, well, what's my mission here on life? Oh, it must be big and grandiose. And that's how I used to think. What about you? Did you used to think like that? And just by being our truth, just by being who we are doing our mission. We are doing our mission. Isn't that a glorious realization? It can be that simple, ladies. It can be that simple. Yeah, it can be that simple. So we're in Egypt and had this coffee reading, and everybody's like, Hathor! And I'm like, who's Hathor? And they start to tell me a little bit about her. And then we go to these two temples. And lo and behold, okay, so forgive me, should have asked before I got on here. The two temples, King Ramsey Temple, thank you for that. Okay, King Ramsey Temple, and one of his wives that he loved more than all of his other wives, he built a temple in her honor. So Google that. Find out where, or DuckDuckGo that. I don't use Google as much as I used to because they track you through that. So I use DuckDuckGo.com. That's how I look things up. Okay, so King Ramsey Temple, King Ramsey built a temple in honor of his favorite wife. It's something like Queen Nefertiti, something like that. Well, she loved Hathor so much that she dedicated her temple to Hathor. And when you walk in there, you see all these hieroglyphs. Those are drawings on the wall, like not just drawings, but actually like, so this is all stone. And it's like, it is, they're like indented in the stone. So people had to go through there. Whoever created, the artists that did the hieroglyphs had to literally probably a chisel and hammer make these hieroglyphs, these pictures on the wall. Okay. And one of the things that Sarwat, our guide, said before we got there, he's like, okay, so when we arrive, I want you to, just take into account where we're at, see which temple calls to you. Now he says this, and possibly he forgot he said this, because we do arrive, and we arrive closer to King Ramses' temple, and then I look over to the temple that's been dedicated to Hathor, and I'm just like, I'm pulled. Like, I cannot deny that. Just, and I can feel her here with us right now as I share this. And okay, so I start walking over to that temple, the Queen Nefertiti's temple. I know I don't say it right, but that's okay. And he looks at me, he's like, and all the rest of the our group is heading into King Ramses' temple. And Sarwar looks at me, he's like, what are you doing, Tammy? Like I was crazy. I'm like, oh, you told me. See which one's speaking to me. And it's that one. He's like, okay. And I walk over there, and I kid you not, the few people that were there, everyone cleared out. Everyone cleared out. I was in that temple by myself for at least, I would say, up to 15 minutes. By myself. That was magical. And I could feel a resonance. There was something in there. There was something, I could feel the resonance within it. And I carried this Ankh with me. All through Egypt, I carried this Ankh with me. ANKH, I believe. You can look this up too, and you can look up the meaning of that, okay? So, because I'm one who allows all things, I allow my mind, my thoughts to expand as much as possible, to be open to things I never knew. I always felt like ever since I was a little girl, I've been lied to through religion. I felt like there's a truth that I wanted to uncover, but didn't know what it was, didn't know. And I still feel like I'm uncovering things. But I took this Ankh with me. Somehow I knew to order it before I went to Egypt. I don't even know if I knew I was going to go to Egypt when I ordered this. And it hangs on my wall in my hallway to my bedroom with other crosses that symbolize other groups of people of where I've traveled. So this Ankh I carry with me all through Egypt. And as I'm in Queen Nefertiti's temple that she has dedicated to Hathor, I start getting emotional. And I go behind one wall, and this fits exactly into the wall. And I knew to set it in there. So my hand's on it as it's in the wall. And it was like a magic key. It is a magic key for me. And I sat there. I just kind of like shrank down because of the emotion, the energy, the connectiveness that I felt. And I just started crying. because of what I could feel, because of the energy I could feel, because of the reconnection. Even though I didn't understand it in here, I understood it, or was open to it in my heart, and my soul understood it. My spirit escalated even higher. Yeah. That's why I always say to breathe into our heart. The more we can live from that heart space, the more we can have our eyes down, 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 down in that heart space and live from there. Our compassion grows. We open up. Our ego mind doesn't get doesn't convolute us so much. So as I'm sitting there, I hear these words: sister, sister, sister. But it was a whisper, like sister, sister, sister. And I'm thinking, and I knew it was Hathor speaking to me. There was a knowing within me that knew it was Hathor speaking to me. And I'm sharing this story today to help you, to assist you, to guide you into that opening of hearing other beings, hearing your soul, hearing your spirit speak to you, guide you, allowing ourselves to follow that guidance. Allowing ourselves to follow that guidance. See, all of a sudden, I just sat up straighter. Allowing ourselves to follow that guidance. Even when it does not make sense. I know women right now that their business, they have a business and they're going this way, this way, this way. And all of a sudden they're listening to their guidance or listening to their essence, their spirit. And it's like, no, you're not supposed to go that way no more. Turn around. We're supposed to go this way. Now, when you work so hard on something for so long, yeah, that can be like, oh, really? Oh, really? I've been there. I've done that. So anyway, so when we allow that guidance to come through and we follow that guidance, oh, the magical, just euphoric experiences that we can have, that we open ourselves up to, are astonishing. Just absolutely astonishing. Or they can be, right? Even like, I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. I did not know how. I'm just like, I got to trust. I got to trust. It took me a couple years to pay it off, but I put it on my credit card and I trusted that the funds would be there, and they were. Even if it took me a couple years, that's okay, because the experience I had was beyond anything I could have ever imagined. Beyond. So as I have this in there, in that wall, and my hands on it as it's in the wall, so my hands also touching this cement, the stone wall. Thank you for that. The stone wall. Just profound. Coming home. Profound energy. Deep emotion. Yeah. And sometimes we don't know. Like, I ordered this not knowing I was going to take it to Egypt. But when we follow that, when we follow those nuggets, okay? So then I leave and I go over to King's because people started showing up then. And I tell this story later. Because the whole time when I hear sister, I'm thinking sister. That Hathor is calling me sister. Welcome home, sister. And so, as I'm telling this story, this experience to one of our guides that's a female that joins us a few days later for the rest of the trip, and I'm telling her about this, and she's just like, what? Hathor's one of my favorite, Tammy. I've been ever since I was a little girl, I've been talking to Hathor. I've been praying to her. And you come over here in one day and she's already talking to you? How does that work? And she was just like, you know, and she's like, do you know what sister means? Like, well, wasn't she saying sister? Oh, no, Tammy. She was saying sister, which is, if you ever see hieroglyphs, a sister is the tool. Because one of the things about Goddess Hathor, she's all about joy. She's all about having a celebration. Like, the more I learned about her, the more I'm like, oh gosh, I have those aspects. And it was the tool, the rattle that she would use in her celebrations. Yeah. So a couple years ago, I started looking that up because so it's been a couple years since I've been in Egypt, okay? And I could feel this. So it's been 4 years this year, okay? About a year or two ago, I started feeling like I could feel that sister again. So I looked at pictures and saw the pictures. You know, I would look up hieroglyphs and saw that. And I'm like, well, I'll just Google it and maybe I can make something like that. And what do I find? Serious people, I find this handmade, ceremonial. They call it a sistrum. So see, it's really close to sister. And it rattles. And you can turn it. Like, I've never seen anything like this. And it even has, in the wood, it's got Hathor ingrained in the wood. You see that? And that is also one of my tools I use to say when I'm called to. To me, this is one of my sacred tools. I'll read it to you. It says, join the procession. It's a percussion instrument steeped in antiquity for healing, joy, and restoring natural balance to your life. So this is one of the tools that I use when I go walk the land. Reconnect with ancient civilizations and the priestesses and priests who walked in ceremonial processions thousands of years ago, blessing and receiving sacred ground, igniting an energetic which remains omnipresent at the ancient temples sites, revering sacred ground. So when I started working on our land here, that's how I feel about this land. is that this land is sacred. And this retreat we're having in July, the second weekend of July here, I can feel that. I sense that. And I also know the Magdalens will be here with us. They've already came and shared that this morning of this profound energy of the Magdalens being present here too. And it all starts with, you know, for me, it started with not understanding what I'm doing. Like, okay, I order this. I find this. I got a spa that was discounted, just tremendously discounted. Infrared sauna, actually. That I'm like, yes, I'll take it. Don't know why. I knew it was bigger than me. And just one by one, little things would come to me. Now, this has been, you know, and I started thinking about this. Like for decades. Like Tim and I have lived here for over 35 years. And I always wanted this to be a safe haven. Safe haven. I never used the word sacred before. But now I know it's a sacred haven. For animals. For women. And men. Especially women. To come and walk the land. To reconnect. Do you see how, when you look in retrospect, Diana and Carol and anybody else that's listening, can you see that? When you look in retrospect to where you're at today, can you see the different things that have guided you to this point? Because one of the things that have come through, because so I was involved with a real estate investment company back in 2008, started in 2007, actually maybe even 2006. And yeah, we can look back in retrospect and we can really beat ourselves up. Who all is good at that? Looking back in retrospect and beating ourselves up. Who's good at that? I have been really good at that. Because that real estate business, investment business, we almost went bankrupt. Okay? That was a very, 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 very scary time in my life. So we could have lost the farm. But I had everything within me was saying, there's no way. That is not an option. Whatever I got to do, I'm doing. Okay? So Carol says yes. She beats herself up as well. So this is where we forgive ourselves. Because see, here's one of the things. I chose to have partners. I chose to have partners. And I know had I done it myself. And I also chose to allow emotion come in. You don't do that with a business. And I also chose to not speak my truth when I knew I should have. Because I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Can't do that in business. We require in life to speak our truth. So it went bankrupt because in 2008, there was a big real estate collapse. And looking back in retrospect, like, wow, if I would have only done things locally on my own, if I would have had this other coach instead of this coach and this coach and this coach. But no, if I would have had that coach, and she was already telling me certain things, and I allowed myself to be pulled over here because thinking these men of authority knew more than this woman. Like that was my own clouded judgment, right? And we would have real estate. I know we would have real estate right now. We would have, what do they call that? Passive income. I know that. Now I know it's work. Don't get me wrong. And I know that. Like there's a knowing within me. Okay. Well, it's just not meant for me. It didn't work out that time. And at that point in time, everything was so inexpensive, right? So we could have really built something, but it was me doing it on my own. But instead of me doing it now, because what I see now is I see things streaming into my children. I have a daughter now that has a husband that they're doing this. They're doing this. Let's buy a property, fix it up, and we'll flip it. Or maybe they keep it for a rental, and maybe they'll build up their rental properties. And they'll have passive income later. In their retirement age. Maybe they both can retire in 10 years if they continue to do that. Okay? So that's what one of my thoughts were. And had I listened to somebody else, if I would have not gone out of the state, you know, you just don't know, right? You don't know in the moment unless you listen to your intuition. And even when your intuition, that knowing within you is going against everything else everybody's telling you. That was a really expensive lesson for me to learn. We are still, okay, this is 2008, 15 years later, right? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, 13 years later, 8, 9, 10, 11. 13 years later, we're still paying on loans that we got in order not to go bankrupt, in order to pay banks off. We made deals with banks. Can I pay you this amount and you'll clear it out? And they said yes, one in particular. So we're still paying on that 13 years later. So can we beat ourselves up? Do we beat ourselves up? Do we look at the past in retrospect and beat ourselves up? Very easy, right? Very easy. But when we allow ourselves to forgive where we have been and where things did not turn out right, of where we thought it should, then we can move on from that point forward. And we can actually have compassion for ourselves. And know you did the best you could with what you had. Can you say that to yourself? You did the best you could with what you had. You did the best you could with what you had. And allow that to sink in. Allow that to sink in. Because when we allow that to sink in and we quit beating ourselves up and realize that each experience has helped us to grow in different ways. That experience now helps me to assist my daughter, now helps me to assist my granddaughter, who is now 18, that wants to become an entrepreneur, that wants to start figuring out how to invest in real estate. Never thought that was coming, right? My kids turn to me now for real estate advice that had I not had this experience, maybe I could have never assisted them along their path. When we open up to our spirits guiding us, when we open up to our spirits guiding us, and for us to say the yes, when we feel that yes, we feel that yes so deep inside of us. And then we're like, oh, how am I going to do that? Can I do that? People would say, oh, I even had somebody say to me, so my husband's name is Tim. Tim's letting you go to Egypt. Tim doesn't have a say-so. He's not my father. We are in a partnership. And I'm like, Tim really doesn't have a choice. I'm going whether or not. So, like, hello. Even if he doesn't understand it, even if he didn't agree with it, even if he got mad at me for going, too bad. I know that's not my stuff. That's his stuff. And I'm not saying any of that happened, but that's how I look at things. Now, that's not how I used to look at things. I used to think I had to ask for permission. If I would have had this mindset, oh, Lordy, girls, well, who knows what it would have happened back then. Oh, my goodness. Being a 17-year-old mama and wife, it was like, oh, I can't rock the boat. But that's how we were taught, right? Couldn't rock the boat. Oh, no. Well, that comes from our ancestry, too. Because how many of our maternal line never rocked the boat? And just, yeah, they see it now. They see it now. They really do. And if you can hear, the geese know it. Because, man, they're quacking like crazy because of this conversation we're having. So being over in Egypt, allowing the experience, allowing my yes to be so profound, to listen to that. Allow your yes to come through. Allow your yes. Some of you have something going on right now. I can feel that there is a yes inside of you that wants you to say yes to it, but your mind's getting in the way. You're either worried about what your significant other will do or say or behave, or what will other people think about me? We've got to get out of that. It's none of my business what other people think about me. This trip to Egypt, when we were up in the King's Chamber, not only was this such an extraordinary trip, our guide was extraordinary. He was able to get us behind the scenes of so many different things before they were even open to the public. We were down in front of the Sphinx, right by the claws of the Sphinx, taking pictures. That's not open to the public. The public is not allowed to go down there. We were in the King's Chamber. This is the top part of the Pyramid of Giza. It's called the King's Chamber. And there's a sarcophagus in there. And one of the things that one of my experiences, because we were all sitting down as we were doing a meditation while we were up there connecting to so many different aspects and to these ancient ones. And as I sat down, there was this crevice in the wall that my back fit perfectly inside. And as I sat there and I just relaxed back, I heard the words, "Welcome home, Tammy. Welcome home. And that came in a whisper. That came in a whisper. Welcome home. Welcome home. And I sat there and I cried, not knowing that that was coming and resonating with it so profoundly. So profoundly that I knew instantly it held something deep within me. So again, by sharing these experiences of opening up to a yes, opening ourselves up to that calling, to that soul, that pull, such as me opening up to saying yes. Like 3 years ago, I went to Crestone, Colorado with another different facilitator. I just knew her for a few months. Like, I don't even know this lady really, but I know that I was to be in Crestone. That was in May 2017. This is 21. That was May of 2018. Okay, gotta think. Yeah, 18. And wow, did that pop open things for me. Tremendously, tremendously. Beings that even the facilitator had never met before had come through, shown themselves to me, and we were driving together, and I was like, do you see that? Stop the car, look ahead. There's these beings that were, now they're a little iridescent, so you can kind of see through them. So remember, this is on a multidimensional level, but these beings appeared and they were taller than the mountains and graceful. I did not know why I was supposed to be there. I just knew that I knew I was to be there. I didn't know we were going into the Sasquatch forest. I didn't know all the profound healing and connection and acceleration that was going to happen. I had no preconcept for that. Yet I knew I was supposed to be there. Just like now I know I'm supposed to be in Kettle Falls, Washington next week. We're actually leaving next week to go to a camp out. It's called the Sasquatch Family Reunion. I don't know anybody there except for one person, but I know I'm supposed to be there. I'm driving. Yeah, sometimes it takes a courageous heart, girls. Even if we're a little scared. Because I do have my oldest daughter. Okay, I have one of my kids. I got a couple of people that are going with me. You know, and this is also about mental health. Sometimes we need to do this for ourselves, for our own mental health. How many of you understand that? That sometimes we just have to say yes for our own mental health. And then it becomes emotional health. And then it becomes a physical health because it streams along the way. And yes, even spiritual health. But I know I'm supposed to be there. And if I had to drive it myself, I would. No ifs, ands, or buts. If I had to drive it myself, I would. That's a 24-hour drive, nonstop. And it's okay. Mhm, mhm. Yes, yes, yes. So allow yourself to open. Allow your soul. Allow yourself to really feel what's calling your soul, what's igniting your spirit. Allow yourself to open what is calling your soul and igniting your spirit. Magic happens. Allow yourself to open to what is calling your soul and what can ignite your spirit. So what is calling to you right now? I want to leave you with this. What is calling to you right now? Do you feel a tug, an internal tug? Do you know that you know something, but you can't figure it out in here, but you know it in here. You know it in this heart space. Yeah, yeah. You got this. I believe in you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me today. Thank you, Carol. I am excited. I will let you know. That's probably, I will have to stream next week along the path, along the drive. Hoping I will be able to get to I'm just having that intention. I'll be someplace somewhere that I'll be able to stream live to you along our travels. So yeah, thank you, every one of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been such a glorious time being together with you. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for allowing this time to be together. Whether you're here right now or you're listening to the replay, I love you. 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 I love you.